First of all, I just want to say thank you for having me here. Thank you to Borough of Phoenixville, the Brewers Association of Pennsylvania. They have laid the groundwork that made what we do possible. In fact, before 2015, we were a group of home brewers who thought maybe we should share our beer, as most home brewers do. And so we decided to investigate it, and after a couple of years of investigating, we thought, well, let's look into it. And at that time, the tap room wasn't a part of the ability for breweries, and so you were looking at just straight distribution model, which changes everything. You have to have a bigger space, your bigger brew system, most likely in a warehouse. Now, if Weyerbacher considers themselves a small brewery, I don't know what word to use for what we are. But when the laws changed in 2015, we'd actually done contract brewing before that to experiment with that, and so became very familiar with the three-tiered system and how that works and all the regulations and rules around that. But when in 2015, when the laws changed, we decided, hey, this is a whole new game for us. It allows us. One of the things we'd always kind of wanted was a destination brewery, some place that people would come to. That was when you go to the wineries, they have a beautiful place to drink beautiful wine. And so many of the breweries now at that time were basically warehouses with tasting rooms on them. And while it was fun to go there, they didn't have that same kind of feel that the wine people had the edge on. So in 2015, when that changed, that allowed us to come to Phoenixville on a fluke. It's a bit of a haircut story, but we came to Phoenixville and had the opportunity not only to put ourselves right in the midst of a historic community and a great place to do business, but also to create what we think is a kind of a beautiful space for people to come in and experience our products. So we think that that's also a big part of how we can identify or differentiate ourselves is, we have basically five breweries in Phoenixville represented, and each one has a different vibe, if you will, to it, which kind of meshes up with what their twist and take on beer is. And so it gives the consumer an opportunity to see the differentiation between the breweries. So we came to Phoenixville. We found this location, and we completely gutted it. We found the original wall from 1913, which we've retained back in the brewery, and we've built upon that. And Phoenixville is a tremendously, gloriously historic town, and so it's kind of fun for us to say that we're building on the past to do something new today. And so we have a 7.5 barrel brewery system. Which is probably smaller than their test barrel system. And we have a tap room that sits about 85 people.
Even Miller Coors and Budweiser started small,
They did.
There's always room to grow.
Yes. We have about 85 seats and a bar. I will say to the comments about the wine and the spirits, now it might be just Phoenixville itself, but I think our numbers are higher. But that's maybe because there's a distillery in town. But we have really appreciated, grown, and had a wonderful time networking with the different wineries and the different distilleries. And so we actually become, I always think of it as a Pennsylvania proud moment. I get to tell their stories. I get to tell the story of Dad's Hat down in Bristol, of a Paradox Winery out in way up in Chester County. But and they know us and they tell our story. And so it's been an opportunity for us to kind of begin to think about maybe ways we can work together on that. We will be open a year in May 26th coming up. So we are really brand new. I think that the legislation that you've done in Act 39 has been wonderful. It's opened a lot of doors for us, a lot of conversations. It's actually made what we do possible and feasible and economically viable. So I'm just really grateful for all the work that this committee has done, for all the work that the Brewers Association has done, and they do a great job educating people. I mean, I went to their symposium. And it was marvelous. It was so helpful. I think one of the challenges for small breweries like us is that we don't have a lot of people to throw a lot of different tasks at. So when we can go to some place like their symposium and just take in a whole lot of information about the laws, about what's right. I mean, I remember that people were talking about overtime And that was a big issue. So I'm very grateful for them that they continue to be supportive. But I have nothing but thanks and praise for you guys for the work you've done and deep appreciation, which is why I'm tickled to be here, because if you hadn't done that, I wouldn't be here.
I know a couple of years ago, we put a tax credit in for the purchase of equipment.
Right.
Has that been utilized at all, or?
We have plans to.
Yeah, it just started. The program just started. You're just seeing the first returns filed because it wasn't funded for a while, and then they have to write the procedures on it. As with many tax credit legislations, after they're passed, it takes a year or two actually to get up and running. So we're just starting on that.
Okay. And then just one last thing. Mark's here, but there are several others. Conshohocken Brewing has just opened up a place, Stable 12, Sly Fox, Root Down. And then, of course, we have a local distiller, Bluebird. So there's I think Black Walnut wine tasting room. So there's an incredible mix within really a block and a half or 2 blocks of where we're sitting. Has that been a catalyst? Has that been a challenge? What can you talk about that?
Yeah, when we first leased the property, someone posted on our website, "Great, one more brewery," but what's happened is that since Root Down has gone in and Conshohocken has come in, what we find is it actually works as a catalyst. There's a bigger geographic area from which we can draw people. And so in the summertime and festival times, it's very big. But we found even in everyday kind of weekend experiences, people will come in. Like if you're from the area of Westchester, there's Levante Brewery in Westchester. People in Westchester love Levante with depths that I haven't yet experienced with Crowded Castle. But they will come, and they will come to Phoenixville because in that 3-block radius, they got 5 breweries, 3 wine rooms, and a distillery that they can walk up and down and pick and choose and taste and visit. So we found it to be really a positive thing. As far as the brewers go, I think we all kind of get along. I have great respect for all of them. Like I said, everybody's got their own little take on beer, and I think that actually helps people to understand the differences in the breweries themselves. It's not just beer. It's Stable 12 has their take on it, Root Down has their take on it, Conshohocken, Iron Hill, they all have their takes on it, and Crowded Castle does as well. So I think it's a great thing. For us, it's been. So I feel very good about it.
To the Liquor Control Committee, we sincerely appreciate the opportunity to testify on the successes seen within the additions of the breweries, distilleries, and wineries to Phoenixville. The Phoenixville community has changed and grown in a number of ways. We have witnessed an increase in our population, as well as in the number of our businesses. The vacancy rate in our downtown is now under 8% in storefronts, as we continue to garner a diverse and cultural surge in owner-occupied businesses. There has also been an increase in the number of business owners that own their building or are working towards ownership at this time. When discussing these new businesses, we must recognize that, part and thanks to this committee, Phoenixville is bearing witness to the influx of craft alcohol establishments. Craft alcohol has proven itself as an industry and draws folks of diverse backgrounds together. Craft alcohol has also shown to bring higher income residents and visitors and larger disposable incomes. There have also been several partnerships within the Phoenixville business community, including a stout or bourbon-infused handmade marshmallow you can find at Bridge Street Chocolates, and finding local bottles or brews on tap at restaurants and bars, and of course the Flight of the Phoenix, which is a crawl through our craft scene. Creating craft alcohol to the extent that our breweries, distilleries, and wineries have requires major investments in equipment, in space, in staffing, and more. Those in Phoenixville have taken many creative approaches to ensure that their patrons have a great experience. And as you may have heard today, or prior to today, Phoenixville now boasts the #1 spot in the state and #10 nationally for craft alcohol businesses per capita. As we know, Phoenixville's foundry produced steel that supports structures around the world. And now we can take pride in the job creation found in craft alcohol, as well as pride in something that is made in Phoenixville. The Chamber embraces this idea and has spoken with a number of the businesses on creating tours and an informational website. This type of development re-energizes downtowns like ours and can certainly benefit the businesses around it as we incorporate the tourism side of this industry. We very much appreciate the efforts of this committee to improve the legislative environment for those in the production and sale of craft alcohol, and will gladly work alongside all efforts to continue the growth and positive response that has added to our community. Thank you.
So Jessica, there are some new apartments that have been built in the borough, right on Bridge Street and then over, so that's off of what's Main. Can you talk about that? Is that connected at all with this development of craft alcohol?
I think so. I think those types of development really do complement each other and work together. So, of course, the hope is when you create a business that those folks living in those communities will, in fact, support them, right? So I do think we see that. I know both apartment communities have worked to put together their own sort of nights out at these different breweries throughout the community. And I know, for example, the Toll development that is along Main Street, they actually have a tap inside the clubhouse, which they have only been using local breweries to fill that tap for social events that they put on. And there does tend to be a big push to support local within those apartment developments. And I think that seeing that much development, of course, makes it much more attractive for people to turn the key and say, yes, I'm going to start a business. We're going to make this very large investment.
And just two other things. Do you have any sense of why craft alcohol happened to kind of blossom here? And then are there developments down the road that you see perhaps happening in the borough that are related to it? And
Sure.
when I say developments, I don't mean buildings. I just mean things that might happen, events or whatnot.
Absolutely. I think, okay, so to address the first part of that question, I think, of course, legislatively, which of course comes all the way down to the borough level, there has to be a sense of openness there to drive this into town. And I think that the borough, from any feedback I've received, has been extremely cooperative with wanting to see these, businesses invest. And again, a few of which have worked to purchase their buildings or, are considering that for the future, which is, again, another major investment, and I think says a lot about the community and that pulse that they're getting with local leadership to say, okay, we're going to continue to support this. I also think that, not being met with opposition from organizations like the Chamber or, again, the municipality to say this isn't something that we want in town, that didn't happen at any point on that level. And we've just continued to push and say, this sort of development should be embraced. If everybody just comes here and opens up shop and nobody's working together and there's no plan to, again, for example, the Flight of the Phoenix event, that helps to create a tie between all of them. The Chamber certainly wants to help, and I know that even at a county visitors bureau level, they're interested in, creating a brewery culture in the county and kind of see us as the figurehead for that. So I think sort of all the stars are aligning, and because so many people find Phoenixville interesting for so many different reasons, it just creates that environment that, makes it an easier decision.